Welcome back to United HQ Update, your #1 destination for all things Manchester United. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we're about to dive into the biggest transfer stories that could completely transform our beloved club. Today's explosive lineup. The £60 million question. Is Bryan Mbeumo the missing piece in United's puzzle? Brentford want £60 million for their Cameroon international, and with Newcastle breathing down our necks, this could be the transfer battle of the summer. Thomas Frank has already admitted Brentford are a selling club, but can we afford this game-changer after our disastrous 15th place finish? Bruno's bombshell decision. Hold on to your seats, Reds. Our captain could be Saudi-bound with Al Hilal offering £100 million for Bruno Fernandes. That's right, £100 million for our Portuguese maestro. And here's the kicker. They're offering him £700,000 per week. Fabrizio Romano would be going crazy with the "Here we go" tweets if this happens. Will Bruno choose loyalty or life-changing money? Emotional farewell alert. Christian Eriksen has just posted his heartbreaking goodbye message after 3 incredible years at Old Trafford. The Danish magician won't forget his 107 appearances for United, and neither will we. His teammates are already commenting their emotional goodbyes. This one will hit you right in the feels. The domino effect. With Victor Lindelof and Johnny Evans also leaving, we're looking at a complete squad overhaul. Ruben Amorim needs £120 plus million to land both Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha, but here's the million-dollar question. Will selling Bruno fund our entire summer rebuild? What you'll get in today's video. White heavy checkmark exclusive transfer updates you won't find anywhere else. White heavy checkmark inside details on United's summer strategy. White heavy checkmark fan reaction analysis. Are we making the right moves? White heavy checkmark financial breakdown. Can we actually afford these deals? White heavy checkmark Fabrizio Romano's latest updates on all our targets. This is the summer that could define the next decade at Old Trafford. Are we witnessing the end of an era or the beginning of something special? Don't miss a second, grab your favorite United jersey, get comfortable, and let's dive into the transfer chaos that has every United fan on the edge of their seats. Comment below, should we sell Bruno for £100 million to fund our rebuild? Your thoughts could feature in our next video. Let's go Reds. Is Bryan Mbeumo the missing piece in United's puzzle? The £60 million question that could define our summer. Picture this, you're watching United struggle to create chances again, our forwards looking lost in the final third, and you're shouting at your TV wondering why we can't seem to score goals anymore. Sound familiar? Well, the folks at Old Trafford have been asking the same question, and their answer might just be a 25-year-old Cameroon international who's been tearing up the Premier League for Brentford. Bryan Mbeumo has emerged as United's top target for this summer's rebuild, but getting him won't be easy. With a price tag of £60 million hanging over his head and Newcastle breathing down our necks, this transfer saga has all the ingredients of a classic United summer story. But is he worth the hassle? And more importantly, can we actually afford him after the worst season in our Premier League history? The reality check, how bad was this season really? Let's not sugarcoat it. United finishing 15th in the Premier League wasn't just disappointing, it was a complete disaster. Think about that for a moment. 15th. That's lower than teams like Brighton, Fulham, and Crystal Palace. We're talking about Manchester United, a club that's won 13 Premier League titles, sitting in the bottom half of the table with a goal difference of -10. How did we get here? The problems were everywhere you looked. Our defense leaked goals like a broken dam. Our midfield couldn't control games. And up front? Well, that's where Bryan Mbeumo comes into the picture. The numbers tell a brutal story. While teams around us were scoring freely, United were struggling to find the back of the net. Game after game, we created half chances that led nowhere. Crosses that found nobody. Shots that went wide or straight at the keeper. It was painful to watch as a fan, and you could see the frustration growing with each passing week. This is why the club's bosses know they need to act fast this summer. The fans deserve better. The players deserve better. And if we want to get back to where we belong, major changes need to happen right now. Enter Bryan Mbeumo, the Brentford star who's got everyone talking. So who exactly is Bryan Mbeumo, And why are United so keen on him? If you've been watching the Premier League closely, you'll know this name already. The 25-year-old has been one of the most consistent performers in the league, racking up an impressive 70 goals for Brentford across all competitions during his time there. But what makes Mbeumo special isn't just the goals, it's how he gets them. Watch him play and you'll see a player who can create something out of nothing. He's got the pace to get behind defenses, the skill to beat his man one-on-one, and the finishing ability to put the ball in the back of the net when it matters. For Brentford, he's been the difference between being a solid Premier League team and relegation fodder. Thomas Frank, Brentford's manager, knows exactly what he's got in Mbeumo. That's why when asked about potential interest from bigger clubs, Frank admitted that Brentford are a selling club, and if someone comes in with the right price, they would consider it. The Cameroon international has also proven himself on the international stage with 22 caps for his country. This isn't some unproven talent we're talking about. This is a player who's done it at every level and is entering his prime years. The money problem: can United actually afford this deal? Here's where things get complicated. United want Mbeumo, but wanting something and being able to afford it are two very different things. The club is walking a tightrope with financial fair play rules, and every penny counts. Brentford aren't going to let their star player go cheap. They've slapped a £60 million price tag on Mbeumo, and they mean business. Compare that to Liam Delap, who United were also looking at, and who was available for just £30 million. The difference is huge, and it's causing headaches at Old Trafford. The club's money men are calling this a financial test of nerves. Do they really want Mbeumo badly enough to pay what Brentford are asking? Or should they look elsewhere and try to find better value for money? It gets even more complicated when you consider that United might need to sell players first before they can buy. The most obvious candidate? Bruno Fernandes. There are reports of a massive £200 million offer from Al Hilal for the Portuguese midfielder. That would solve the money problem in one go, but it would also mean losing one of our best players. There's also talk about potentially selling Kobbie Mainoo, though that seems less likely given his potential. Still, these are the tough decisions United face this summer. Every transfer in means something has to give somewhere else. Newcastle, the unwanted competition. Just when United thought they had a clear run at Mbeumo, Newcastle United appeared on the scene. The Magpies are also interested in the Brentford star, and they've got money to spend. Newcastle's interest adds another layer of complexity to this deal. They're not just going to sit back and watch United get their man. If they want Mbeumo badly enough, they could force United into a bidding war that drives the price even higher. The good news for United is that Newcastle also thinks £60 million is too much. They're apparently more comfortable at around the £50 million mark. But that doesn't mean they won't change their minds if they really want the player. Competition from other big clubs is nothing new for United, but it does make life more difficult. It means United can't take their time with this deal. If they want Mbeumo, they need to act fast and put their money where their mouth is. What would Mbeumo bring to United? Let's imagine for a moment that United do manage to sign Mbeumo. What would he actually bring to the team? The plan seems to be to play him alongside Matheus Cunha, who United are close to signing, in a two-man attack. Mbeumo's pace and directness would give United something they've been missing. Too often this season, our attacks have been slow and predictable. Defenders have had time to get back and organized. With Mbeumo in the team, that changes. He can stretch defenses, create space for others, and most importantly, finish chances when they come. His versatility is another big plus. Mbeumo can play across the front line, whether that's on the wing or through the middle. This gives the manager options and makes United harder to defend against. The psychological impact shouldn't be underestimated either. Signing a player of Mbeumo's quality would send a message to the fans, the players, and the rest of the league that United are serious about getting back to the top. After the disaster of this season, that kind of statement signing could be exactly what the club needs. The Cunha connection, building a new attack. Speaking of statement signings, United are reportedly close to completing a deal for Matheus Cunha worth around £62.5 million. If they can get both Cunha and Mbeumo, suddenly United's attack starts to look very different. Cunha brings creativity and technical ability, while Mbeumo offers pace and directness. Together, they could form a partnership that gives United the cutting edge they've been missing. The thought of these two players linking up, creating chances for each other, and terrorizing Premier League defenses is enough to get any United fan excited. But here's the question. Is it realistic to expect United to spend over £120 million on just two players when they're already struggling with financial fair play? Something has to give, and that's where the Bruno Fernandes situation becomes crucial. The Bruno dilemma: sell your best player to buy new ones? Bruno Fernandes has been United's best player for the past few years. He's the captain, the creative force, and the player who makes things happen when the team is struggling. Selling him would be a massive gamble. But if that £200 million offer from Al Hilal is real, it's the kind of money that's hard to turn down. It would not only fund the Mbeumo deal but also leave plenty left over for other signings. The question is whether United can replace Bruno's creativity and leadership. The club are apparently looking at Oyhun Sancet from Athletic Club as a potential replacement. He's younger than Bruno and could be a long-term solution. But would he have the same immediate impact? And would the fans accept losing their captain for a player they might not even know? It's a classic United dilemma. Do you keep your proven star or cash in to rebuild the whole team? There are arguments on both sides, and the decision could define the next few years at Old Trafford. Thomas Frank's honest assessment. One person who's been refreshingly honest about this whole situation is Thomas Frank, Brentford's manager. When asked about the interest in Mbeumo, Frank didn't try to hide behind typical football speak. "We are a selling club, so if someone comes in with the right price, then we would sell," Frank admitted. He also praised Mbeumo's achievements, saying he was very happy for him and that there should be interest from bigger clubs. This honesty is actually helpful for United. It confirms that a deal is possible if they're willing to pay the asking price. There's no games being played here. Brentford wants £60 million, and if United pay it, they'll get their man. Frank's comments also suggest that Mbeumo himself would be open to a move. Players don't usually leave clubs where they're unhappy, and if Frank is this positive about potential interest, it suggests everyone is on the same page. The contract situation: time is running out. One factor that works in United's favor is Mbeumo's contract situation. His deal at Brentford runs until 2026, though the club does have an option to extend it by another year. Still, with just over a year left on his main contract, Brentford know they need to cash in now or risk losing him for less money later. This gives United some leverage in negotiations. Brentford can't afford to be too stubborn about the price if they risk losing their biggest asset for nothing. It's a delicate balance, but it's one that could work in United's favor if they play their cards right. The key is timing. If United wait too long, other clubs might come in with competing offers. If they move too quickly, they might end up paying more than they need to. It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone gets what they want. What the fans think: mixed reactions. United fans are understandably divided about this potential signing. On one hand, everyone can see that the team needs new attacking players. The goal shortage this season was obvious to anyone who watched the games. Mbeumo would clearly improve the team. On the other hand, £60 million is a lot of money for a player who's never played for a big club before. Some fans are worried about whether he can handle the pressure at Old Trafford. Others question whether the money might be better spent on multiple cheaper signings. There's also the Bruno Fernandes factor. Many fans would be devastated to lose their captain, even if it meant being able to sign new players. Bruno has been one of the few bright spots in recent years, and losing him would feel like giving up on the current squad entirely. The truth is, there are no easy answers. Every option comes with risks, and United fans have been burned by big money signings before. The club needs to get this right, not just for the money but for the faith of the supporters. The bigger picture: rebuilding after disaster. Step back from the individual transfer stories, and what you see is a club trying to rebuild after one of the worst seasons in its history. The 15th place finish wasn't just bad luck or a few poor results. It was the result of fundamental problems that need major surgery to fix. Signing Mbeumo is just one part of that process. United need new players all over the pitch. The defense needs strengthening. The midfield needs more creativity and energy. And the attack, as we've discussed, needs players who can actually score goals. This is why the summer transfer window is so crucial. Get it right, and United could bounce back quickly. Get it wrong, and the club could find itself stuck in mediocrity for years to come. The pressure on everyone involved is enormous. The Mbeumo deal represents more than just one signing. It's a test of whether United's new approach to transfers will work. Can they identify the right players? Can they negotiate deals that make financial sense? Can they beat other big clubs to their targets? Looking ahead, what happens next? So where does all this leave us? The next few weeks will be crucial. Transfer windows have their own momentum, and once things start moving, they can move very quickly. United can't afford to be left behind if they're serious about bouncing back from this season's disaster. For fans, it's going to be another summer of hoping the club gets it right. We've been here before, watching big signings that didn't work out and missing out on players who went on to star for our rivals. This time feels different though, if only because things couldn't really get much worse than they were this season. The bottom line, a calculated risk worth taking? Bryan Mbeumo represents everything United need right now. Pace, goals, and the hunger to succeed at the highest level. At 25, he's entering his prime years and has already proven himself in the Premier League. The £60 million price tag is steep, but in today's market, that's what quality costs. The real question isn't whether Mbeumo is worth the money, it's whether United can afford not to sign players like him. After finishing 15th, the club can't afford to gamble on cheaper, unproven alternatives. They need players who can make an immediate impact and help drag the team back up the table. Yes, it might mean selling Bruno Fernandes. Yes, it will put pressure on the club's finances. But sometimes you have to take risks to get back to where you belong. United have spent years making safe signings that didn't work out. Maybe it's time to be bold again. The Bryan Mbeumo transfer saga is about more than just one player. It's about whether Manchester United still have the ambition and the resources to compete with the best teams in the world. After the worst season in the club's Premier League history, this summer's transfer window will tell us everything we need to know about where the club is heading. One thing is certain, United fans deserve better than what they've watched this season. Whether Bryan Mbeumo is the answer remains to be seen, but at least the club is asking the right questions. Sometimes, that's where the journey back to the top begins. The big question, should Bruno Fernandes leave Manchester United for £100 million? Picture this, your team's best player, the guy who scores the goals and creates the magic, suddenly has a chance to earn £700,000 every single week. But there's a catch, he has to leave the club you love and move to Saudi Arabia. Welcome to the Bruno Fernandes situation that has every Manchester United fan asking the same question. What would you do? This isn't just another transfer rumor. This is about United's captain, their most important player, and a decision that could change everything at Old Trafford. Let's break down what's really happening and why this story matters so much. What's actually going on? Bruno Fernandes joined Manchester United in January 2020, and since then, he's been the heartbeat of the team. The Portuguese midfielder has been United's go-to man for goals, assists, and leadership. He wears the captain's armband and has won the club's Player of the Year award 4 times, matching legends like Cristiano Ronaldo and David De Gea. But now everything might change. Saudi Arabian club Al Hilal wants Bruno badly. How badly? They're willing to pay Manchester United £100 million for him. That's not all. They're offering Bruno a salary that would make him one of the highest paid players in world football. Here's where it gets interesting. Just a week ago, after United lost the Europa League final to Tottenham, Bruno said he wanted to stay. He told reporters that he'd only leave if the club decided to sell him for money reasons. He seemed committed to helping United get back to their glory days. So what changed? Well, Bruno's agent had a meeting in Saudi Arabia on Thursday night. They talked money, they talked terms, and suddenly Bruno isn't so sure about staying anymore. According to reports, he's now giving serious thought to this massive offer. Why this matters more than you think. This isn't just about one player leaving. This story tells us everything about where Manchester United are right now, and it's not pretty. United just had their worst season in decades. Think about that for a moment. This is Manchester United we're talking about, a club that used to win everything. But this season, they won't even play in Europe next year. They lost the Europa League final, finished way down the Premier League table, and now they're scrambling to figure out how to fix things. The money situation is bad too. Really bad. United need to sell players to buy new ones. They want to sign Matheus Cunha from Wolves for £62.5 million, but they can't do it unless they sell other players first. The club has made a list of players they're happy to sell: Alejandro Garnacho, Antony, Jadon Sancho, and Marcus Rashford are all available if the price is right. But here's the thing, none of those players would bring in as much money as Bruno Fernandes. If United sell Bruno for £100 million, that's more money than they've ever received for any player. Their previous record sale was Cristiano Ronaldo to Real Madrid for £80 million back in 2009. The numbers that tell the story. Let's talk about what Bruno Fernandes actually does for Manchester United. This past season, even though it was terrible for the team, Bruno still delivered. He scored 19 goals and made 20 assists across all competitions. That means he was directly involved in 39 goals for his team. When you watch United play, you can see the difference Bruno makes. He takes the free kicks, the penalties, and the corners. He creates chances for other players and scores important goals. Most importantly, he doesn't hide when things get tough. While other players disappear in big games, Bruno steps up. This is why United fans love him so much. In a team full of expensive signings who haven't worked out, Bruno has been consistently good. He's the one player you can count on to try his best every single time he steps on the pitch. But there's another side to this story. Bruno is 30 years old now and will turn 31 just after next season starts. In football terms, that means he's entering the final years of his prime. Most players start declining after 32 or 33, especially midfielders who cover a lot of ground during games. The Saudi Arabia factor. Why is Al Hilal so desperate to sign Bruno Fernandes? It's all about timing and ambition. The Saudi Pro League has been spending incredible amounts of money to attract world-class players. They've signed Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, N'Golo Kante, and many others. Now they want Bruno to be their next big signing. Al Hilal specifically wants Bruno because they're about to play in the Club World Cup, which starts on June 14th. Having a player of Bruno's quality would give them a much better chance of doing well in that competition. That's why they want an answer by this weekend. They need time to register him for the tournament. The money they're offering is simply crazy. £700,000 per week net salary means Bruno would take home that amount after taxes. When you add up everything including bonuses and image rights, he could earn over £50 million per year. That's more money than most people see in several lifetimes. Can you blame a 30-year-old player for considering such an offer? Football careers are short, and this might be Bruno's only chance to secure his family's financial future for generations. What should Manchester United do? This is where things get really complicated for United. Let's look at both sides of this decision. Arguments for selling Bruno. The £100 million would be massive for United's rebuild. New manager Ruben Amorim needs money to buy players who fit his system. Selling Bruno would give him more transfer funds than selling any other player. Bruno is 30 years old, so his value will only go down from here. If United are going to sell him, now might be the perfect time to get maximum money. United's rebuild is going to take time. Even with the best planning, it might take 3 or 4 years before they're competing for the Champions League again. By then, Bruno will be 33 or 34 and past his best years. The team needs to learn to play without relying on one player. Right now, United are too dependent on Bruno for creativity and goals. Building a more balanced team might be better in the long run. Arguments for keeping Bruno. He's clearly United's best player and has proven he can perform even when the team is struggling. Losing him would make United significantly weaker. United finished low in the table this season with Bruno in the team. Without him, they could be in real trouble. What if they get relegated? It sounds crazy, but stranger things have happened in football. Bruno is a leader and someone the younger players look up to. Selling your captain sends a bad message to the squad and the fans. Finding a replacement for Bruno would be incredibly difficult and expensive. United's recent record of buying players isn't great, so there's no guarantee they'd spend the £100 million wisely. The fan perspective. Manchester United fans are divided on this issue, and you can understand why. Some fans think the club should take the money and run. They argue that £100 million for a 30-year-old player is too good to refuse, especially when the team needs rebuilding from top to bottom. These fans believe United should focus on buying younger players who can grow together and create a dynasty. Other fans are horrified at the thought of losing Bruno. They see him as the one bright spot in a terrible few years. To them, selling Bruno would be giving up on any hope of success and admitting that United are no longer a big club. Both groups make valid points. United are in such a difficult position that there might not be a perfect answer. What this says about modern football. The Bruno Fernandes situation perfectly shows what's happening in modern football. Money talks louder than anything else. 20 years ago, a player like Bruno wouldn't even consider leaving Manchester United for a Saudi Arabian club. United were one of the biggest clubs in the world, and that meant something. But today, when Saudi clubs can offer salaries that European clubs can't match, everything changes. This isn't just about Bruno or United. We're seeing similar situations all over football. Players are choosing money over tradition, and who can blame them? Their careers are short, and they need to think about their futures. But it does make you wonder, what happens to the romance of football when everything becomes about money? When players choose paychecks over passion projects, do we lose something important about the game we love? The bigger picture for Manchester United. Whether Bruno stays or goes, Manchester United have serious problems to solve. This whole situation exists because the club has been poorly managed for years. United haven't won the Premier League since 2013. They haven't won the Champions League since 2008. They've spent over £1 billion on new players in the last decade, and most of those signings haven't worked out. The club's American owners, the Glazer family, have loaded United with debt while taking money out for themselves. The stadium needs major repairs, the training ground needs updating, and the team needs better players. Bruno Fernandes has been a rare success story in this mess. He's given United fans something to cheer about when there hasn't been much else. Losing him would be painful, but maybe it's inevitable given where the club is right now. What happens next? Al Hilal want an answer by this weekend. That doesn't give Bruno much time to make one of the biggest decisions of his career. If he says yes to Saudi Arabia, United will have to decide whether to accept the £100 million bid. Given their financial problems, it's hard to see them saying no to that much money. If he says no and decides to stay, United fans will be relieved, but the underlying problems won't go away. The club will still need to sell other players to raise money, and they'll still be rebuilding from a very low point. Either way, this story shows just how far Manchester United have fallen. A few years ago, keeping their best player wouldn't even be a question. Now, it's a genuine dilemma with no easy answers. The final word. The Bruno Fernandes situation is about more than just one transfer. It's about a great club trying to figure out how to be great again. It's about a player deciding between loyalty and financial security. It's about fans wondering if their team will ever be good again. Whatever happens, this summer will be remembered as a turning point for Manchester United. They're either about to lose their best player and start over completely, or they're about to keep him and try to build around him one more time. For Bruno Fernandes, this decision will define how people remember his career. Does he stay at United and try to help them back to the top, even if it takes years and might not work? Or does he take the guaranteed money and security that Al Hilal are offering? There's no wrong answer here. Bruno has given everything to Manchester United for 4.5 years. If he decides it's time for a new challenge and financial security, United fans should understand. If he decides to stay and keep fighting, they should appreciate his commitment. One thing is certain, whatever Bruno Fernandes decides will shape the future of Manchester United. The next few days could change everything at Old Trafford, and that's why every United fan will be watching closely to see what their captain chooses. The beautiful game isn't always beautiful, but it's always dramatic. This is one of those moments that reminds us why we can't stop watching, even when it breaks our hearts. Christian Eriksen's emotional farewell. What this means for Manchester United's future. Imagine spending 3 years of your life at the biggest club in the world, playing your heart out every match, only to know that your time is coming to an end. This is exactly what Christian Eriksen is facing right now at Manchester United. As we sit here in May 2025, the Danish midfielder is preparing to say goodbye to Old Trafford, and his heartfelt message to fans has touched hearts across the football world. But what does this really mean for United? And how are his teammates dealing with this news? Let's take a deep dive into what's happening at Old Trafford and why this farewell matters more than you might think. The journey that led us here when Christian Eriksen walked through the doors at Old Trafford 3 years ago, few could have predicted the roller coaster ride that was about to begin. Remember, this was a player who had literally come back from the dead. After his heart attack during 2020 Euro, many thought his career was over. But Eriksen proved everyone wrong. He joined Manchester United on a free transfer after spending a fantastic season at Brentford. It seemed like the perfect move at the time. United needed creativity in midfield, and Eriksen needed a big stage to show he could still perform at the highest level. It was supposed to be a match made in heaven. Over the past 3 years, Eriksen has made 107 appearances for United. That's no small number, especially considering all the challenges he's faced. He's scored 8 goals and provided 18 assists. But more importantly, he's shown incredible heart and determination every time he stepped onto the pitch. A season of struggles. This season has been particularly tough for Manchester United fans. Finishing 15th in the Premier League is something that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Think about it, this is Manchester United we're talking about. The club that dominated English football for decades. The club that Sir Alex Ferguson built into a global powerhouse. How did it come to this? Well, there are many reasons, but one thing is clear. The team has struggled to find consistency under Ruben Amorim. The Portuguese coach took over with high hopes, but managing Manchester United is never an easy job. The pressure is intense, the expectations are sky high, and every decision is analyzed by millions of fans around the world. The fact that United reached the Europa League final gives some hope, but losing to Tottenham in that final must have been heartbreaking for everyone involved. Can you imagine how the players felt walking off that pitch, knowing they had come so close to winning a trophy? 3 managers, 1 journey. One of the most interesting aspects of Eriksen's time at United is that he's worked under 3 different managers. That's not easy for any player, especially one who's in the later stages of his career. Each manager has different tactics, different expectations, and different ways of using players. Erik ten Hag was the one who brought Eriksen to the club. The Dutch manager saw something special in the Danish midfielder and believed he could add that creative spark United desperately needed. Under ten Hag, Eriksen played some of his best football at United. Then came Ruud van Nistelrooy, who had his own ideas about how to use Eriksen. The former United striker understood the club's DNA and tried to implement a style that would get the best out of all his players. Finally, Ruben Amorim arrived with his own vision. It's never easy for a player to adapt to so many different systems, but Eriksen has shown remarkable professionalism throughout all these changes. The farewell message that touched hearts. When Eriksen posted his farewell message on social media, it wasn't just another standard goodbye post. This was something special. His words were filled with genuine emotion and gratitude. He thanked the fans who had supported him through thick and thin. He thanked the hard-working people at Carrington and Old Trafford who make the club run behind the scenes. And he thanked his teammates who had become like family to him. What struck many people about his message was how heartfelt it was. In a world where many footballer posts seem scripted and generic, Eriksen's words felt real. They felt like they came from someone who truly appreciated every moment he spent at the club. This is what football should be about, genuine connections between players, fans, and clubs. Even in an era where players move around more frequently than ever before, some still understand what it means to represent a club like Manchester United. Teammates' emotional responses. The response from Eriksen's teammates tells us a lot about the kind of person he is. Joshua Zirkzee was quick to comment on the farewell post, saying, "I'm going to miss you, friend." These aren't just empty words, they show real friendship and respect. Zirkzee, who joined United more recently, clearly formed a strong bond with Eriksen. It's not always easy for new players to fit in at a big club, but having experienced players like Eriksen around makes that transition much smoother. The Dutch forward will surely miss having such a wise and experienced teammate to learn from. Daley Blind, the former United defender, also showed his support with a simple but meaningful emoji. These small gestures matter because they show the lasting impact Eriksen has had on people throughout his career. What this means for United's future. Eriksen's departure is part of a bigger change happening at Manchester United. The club has already announced that Victor Lindelof and Johnny Evans will also be leaving next month. This summer is clearly going to be about rebuilding and reshaping the squad. But here's the big question. Are United making the right decisions? Eriksen may be 33 years old, but he's still capable of performing at a high level. This season, he made 35 appearances, which is actually more than the 25 he made last season. That shows he's still physically capable and mentally strong. Sometimes clubs make the mistake of letting experienced players go too early. These players bring knowledge, leadership, and stability that younger players often lack. Will United miss Eriksen's experience and creativity next season? The challenge of replacing experience. Finding a replacement for Christian Eriksen won't be easy. Yes, United need to plan for the future and bring in younger players. But they also need to maintain that balance between youth and experience. Eriksen brought something special to the team, his ability to pick out a perfect pass, his dead ball skills, and his understanding of the game. Who will step up to fill that void? United have some talented young midfielders, but do they have the experience to handle the pressure of playing for such a big club? This is where Ruben Amorim will need to be smart in the transfer market. The new signings will need to not just replace Eriksen's footballing abilities, but also his character and professionalism. That's often the hardest part to replace when a respected veteran leaves the club. Lessons for young players. Eriksen's journey at Manchester United offers valuable lessons for young players everywhere. His story shows that setbacks don't have to define your career. After his heart attack, many people would have accepted that their playing days were over. But Eriksen fought back, proved he could still compete at the highest level, and earned the respect of fans and teammates alike. His professionalism throughout his time at United has been exemplary. Even when he knew his contract wasn't going to be renewed, he continued to give his all for the team. That's the mark of a true professional and something that young players should aspire to. The bigger picture at Old Trafford. Eriksen's departure is just one piece of a much larger puzzle at Manchester United. The club is clearly in a period of transition, trying to find its identity again after years of struggle. The 15th place finish in the Premier League is unacceptable for a club of United's stature, and major changes are needed. But change isn't always easy, especially at a club with such high expectations. Every decision is scrutinized, every signing is questioned, and every result is analyzed to death. It's a pressure cooker environment that not everyone can handle. The question is whether United are making the right changes. Are they keeping the right players and letting go of the right ones? Are they bringing in the right new faces? Only time will tell, but the decisions made this summer will be crucial for the club's future. About Eriksen's departure. Many appreciate what he's done for the club and understand that, at 33, his best days might be behind him. But others worry that the club is making a mistake by letting such an experienced and talented player go. The reality is that United fans have been through a lot of disappointment in recent years. Each summer brings new hope, new signings, and new expectations. But too often, those expectations haven't been met. Fans are understandably cautious about getting too excited about the upcoming changes. What fans really want is to see United competing at the top level again. They want to see the club challenging for the Premier League title and making deep runs in European competitions. Whether letting Eriksen go helps achieve those goals remains to be seen. Looking ahead to next season. As we look ahead to the 2025-26 season, there are more questions than answers at Manchester United. Will the new signings gel quickly with the existing squad? Can Ruben Amorim find the right formula to get the team competing at the top level again? And perhaps most importantly, will United fans finally have something to celebrate? The departure of players like Eriksen, Lindelof, and Evans signals the end of an era at Old Trafford. But it also represents an opportunity for a fresh start. Sometimes clubs need to make difficult decisions to move forward, even if those decisions are painful in the short term. The emotional side of football. Eriksson's farewell reminds us that football is about more than just tactics, transfers, and trophies. It's about human connections, shared experiences, and emotions. When a player like Eriksson leaves a club, it affects everyone: teammates, coaches, staff, and fans. These moments make football special. They remind us why we fall in love with the game in the first place. It's not just about winning and losing, it's about the stories, the relationships, and the memories that are created along the way. Final thoughts. Christian Eriksson's time at Manchester United is coming to an end, but his impact will be remembered for years to come. He showed incredible courage in returning to football after his heart attack, and he gave everything he had to United during his 3 years at the club. His farewell message and the responses from his teammates show the kind of person he is: professional, grateful, and genuinely caring. These are qualities that any club would be lucky to have, and United will miss them when he's gone. As for what comes next, only time will tell whether United made the right decision. But one thing is certain: Christian Eriksen has earned the respect and admiration of everyone at Old Trafford, and his legacy will live on long after he's played his final game for the club. The summer ahead will be crucial for Manchester United. New players will come in, new hopes will be raised, and new challenges will be faced. But as the club moves forward, they should remember the lessons that players like Eriksson have taught them about professionalism, determination, and what it truly means to represent Manchester United. What do you think United should prioritize this summer? Should they focus on youth or experience? And will they regret letting Christian Eriksen go? Only time will give us the answers, but one thing is sure: it's going to be an interesting few months at Old Trafford.